What's going on YouTube? Taylor back here. We're going to take a look at one of my decks today. So over on the left you'll see we have my main deck for my Chaos deck, and on the right we have my extra deck. I'm going to go ahead and toss the extra deck aside for now, and we'll take a look at my Chaos deck. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the monsters in this deck, and then talk about the many fun combos that I put together. So without further ado, here we go. We have a Blackluster Soldier, who is of course basically the second king of the deck, and then we have Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End, who of course is the main boss of the deck. Next up we've got Dark Magician of Chaos, a lovely little monster that I love to use his effect to basically foolish burial him to the graveyard and then use a monster reborn to bring him back, and just rinse and repeat over and over again. We're going to have 2 copies of Chaos Sorcerer, because why the hell not? And then one of the newer cards I've pulled, Thunder Dragon Duo. So basically this guy's shtick is that he gains attack from card effects activated in the hand, and when he battles opponent's monsters, I can search for Thunder monsters and then return 1 banished monster to the deck once per turn. So pretty wild effect. We have another boss monster here. We have Gores. Who wouldn't run a Gores? One of those great old-fashioned quick effect cards. And of course he is also a fantastic hand trap. So next up we have the Dark Monsters. I run 2 copies of Summoner Monk. He's great for if you have extra spell cards in your hands you don't need. You can discard them to special summon cards from your deck. You'll see why later on that I use that card. Next up we have 2 copies of Aloof Lupine. Now because he's newer, I'll read his effect to you. When this card is normal summoned, you can banish 1 monster from your hand, banish 1 monster from your deck with the same type as that monster if this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card is in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one of your banished monsters, add it to your hand, and of course only use that effect once per turn. Next up we've got a copy of Darkblade, Captain of the Evil World. He's of course amazing because he has a similar effect to Relinquished, and that if my opponent has light monsters, level 4 or lower, I can basically pull him over, equip it to Darkblade, and if he would be destroyed, I can negate that. Amazing shit. Next up we've got... oh, there, hello Chase. We have 2 copies of some Blackwing monsters. Basically I've got Gale, who's a great tuner, and then Zephyros. So the effect here is that if Zephyros is on the field, I can special summon Gale to my side of the field. A great effect. Then we got 1 copy of Sangan. He's always fun to play.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Next up we'll talk about my light monsters. So I'm running 1 copy of Dimensional Alchemist. I was running 2, but I'm not crazy about the effect. Basically I can banish a card from the top of my deck and he gains attack, and then when he is destroyed I can target 1 of my banished cards, or monsters I should say, add it back to my hand. Not great, in the circumstances I've played anyway. Then I've got 2 copies of Thunder King. Why would you not run him? He's amazing. And then of course I have 2 copies of Sacred Crane. So basically I can combo him if he's in my deck. Using Summoner Monk's effect, I can summon him, Sacred Crane, from my deck, and then basically because of that effect, Sacred Crane allows me to draw 1 card. Pretty wild. Next up we've got 2 cards that are newer of course to my deck. Thunderclap Monk. They work in the sense that I can tribute to negate a monster effect sent from the field to the graveyard, special summon a thunder monster in defense. Next up we have another light tuner, which is Effect Veiler, who of course, another fantastic hand trap. I can send her from my hand to the graveyard to negate card effects. And the last monster for this deck is Scrap Beast. You'll see why I have my 1 earth monster. He'll come into play later on. That's all my monsters, so we'll pull them out of here. Okay, first off, I got 3 copies of Pot of Duality, fantastic drawing card. 3 copies of Twin Twisters, because who wouldn't want to use the power creeped version of Misty? We've got a Book of Moon, fantastic defensive card. 1 copy of Dark Hole, a wonderful board wipe card. Foolish Burial, one of my very favorite spell cards in this deck. It basically just send 1 monster card from your deck to the graveyard. Works 99% of the time in a Chaos deck. I cannot stress that enough. Next up, we got Mind Control, which recently came off the ban list. Target one monster your opponent controls until the end phase. Take control of that target, but it cannot declare an attack or be attributed. Basically fantastic for XE summoning, or Synchro for that matter. One copy of the classic Monster Reborn. One copy of Smashing Ground, a great quick mini board wipe. And of course, one copy of Upstart Goblin. You know, back in the day, I hated giving my opponent life points because I didn't understand the difference between card advantage and life point advantage. And once I kind of picked up the game in the last year or so, I realized how valuable this card is. And it's crazy to me to think that it's limited here in North America, yet in Japan they don't care about card advantage, and it's basically at 3, which I still cannot believe. Following spells, we have all of my trap cards. I try not to run too many, but these ones just seem far too valuable anyway. So we have one copy of Bottomless, 2 copies of Call the Haunted, because who doesn't love an extra monster reborn? One copy of Compulse for those pesky monsters that just won't go away. 2 copies of Dimensional Prison, fantastic offensive cards. And 2 recent additions, Fateful Hour. Basically, with these, I can target one monster that cannot be normal summoned or set in either graveyard and special summon them. Fantastic for my big old Chaos boss monsters that can't be normal summoned. 1 copy of Solemn Warning. And 1 copy of Torrential Tribute. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, why not just run Rajiki instead of Torrential Tribute? But with the fact that I can... Actually, never mind, this is the wrong card. Never mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. I think I'm thinking of Rajiki Break, yeah.
And what the fuck are you talking about, man?
First up, we have Synchro cards. I'll start talking about my 2 level 5s. I have Magical Android as well as Ally of Justice Catastor. Magical Android allows me to gain life points, and Ally of Justice basically easily clip dark monsters. Next up, we have a level 6 in Brianok, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. He's great because I can discard cards to the graveyard to return cards from the field to the hand. Next up, we have the level 7s, being Arcanite Magician, who's great for using 2 spell counters to boost his attack or destroy 2 cards on the opponent's side of the field. Black Rose Dragon, because who doesn't love those fantastic board wipes? And a Blackwing Armor Master. I've considered making a full-on Blackwing deck, but because it's been so far pulled out of the meta, I may not. But there has been recent support, so we'll see. But anyway, Blackwing Armor Master uses wedge counters. So basically he takes no battle damage on his own, and then I can put wedge counters on opponent's monsters, remove them to make those monsters attack 0 until end phase. Great for life point destruction. Next up we have 2 level 8 Synchro monsters, the first being Scrap Dragon, the second being Stardust. Now I'll get Stardust out of the way. Who doesn't love Stardust? Great for negating card effects. Now Scrap Dragon, when he's clipped, I can target 1 Scrap monster from my graveyard, add it back to the field, and of course that'd be Scrap Beast, my 1 Scrap monster, the Earth guy. And his other effect allows me to target 1 card I control and 1 card the opponent controls, and destroy them. And finally, for the Synchro monsters, we have Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This one's pretty wild. Basically, I can banish 1 card each of opponent from both the opponent's hand, field, and graveyard, which of course, in a Chaos deck, it just complements it so well. Now, I don't use Synchro as often as I use Xyz, but I definitely appreciate the effects these Synchro monsters have. Next up we have my 3 level 3 Xyz monsters. First up we have Leviair, which was one of my absolute favorites. Basically, I can special summon banish level 4 or lower monsters from my banished zone. Next up we have Leviathan Dragon, who's great for gaining life points until the end phase. So not the best effect, but good in a pinch. And of course we have 1 Wind Up Zen Mates, where I can detach material for protection, so he can't be disturbed by battle or card effect. And I can target 1 card and destroy it if that effect is used that turn. That's a great effect. Next up I have level 4s, which is my first being Gagaga Cowboy. He's got a pretty weird effect. I usually use the first one, not the second, and his first effect is, if he's in attack position, he gains 1,000 life points, and an opponent's monster loses 500. And then the defense one, which I don't use very often, would be, if he's in defense position, I can detach the material and inflict 800 damage to my opponent. Next up we have 1 copy of Utopia, who's great for negating attacks. And finally, Steel Swarm Roach, who is great for negating a level 5 or higher special summon. Now I have considered putting 2 copies of Utopia, maybe 2 copies of Roach in exchange for one or the other, but I haven't really decided yet. So far I've found that I use Utopia way more frequently than Roach, so I may just pull the plug on Roach at some point and just kind of go from there. Holy shit, Taylor, what are you doing? Use your hands. So yeah, that basically covers my Chaos deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this difference in video type this time. I thought it was quite fun. I think in the future, I'll try and do at least 1 deck profile a month, maybe 2, along with the regular scheduled content. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for subscribing if you have. If not, smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome content. Peace out.